Okay, yesterday we learned about how to handle switch examples, and we started discussing about looping control and iteration. We will see concept now. Looping control statements. So looping control statements. What are the looping control statements? Let's see. So the looping control statements are used to repeat a set of statements until the given condition is satisfied. So loops are defined by using three things. Loops are defined by using for, while, and do while. First, we will see the for loop. How to handle this for loop. Actually, for loop, generally, when we use the for loop, it is used when the exact iterations are known to developer. When exact iterations are known to developer, and iteration count will not change dynamically. Exact iterations are known to developer and iteration count will not change dynamically. So it requires, that point I will explain here. See, it requires initialization, condition, and counter. Syntactically, for initialization, then condition, then counter. That's how generally we write. Initialization, condition, and counter. So when to use the for loop and when to use the while and do while like loops? What's the condition? So that is the point. So let's take one simple concept here to understand this scenario when to use for loop. As a developer, when we can use a for loop. So for example, see, suppose we have collection, and there are two types of collections available. Suppose means we have one collection. Suppose we have a drop down, and it's a static drop down. Static drop down means it contains a standard list of items. For example, they given a standard list drop down, and in this drop down, it contains some list. It contains some list. Suppose this is list of cities. So Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai, like this. And this list is constant. It will not change. That means finally, whatever cities are there, its list is present. No city will be added, no city will be removed. It's a standard list. That means it will not change. Standard. And for example, suppose we have a database table. Generally, a database table contains some students' records, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this records are present. Both are collection. That means here we are having 1, 2, 3 collection. Here we have 5. Now cities and students. Now what is difference between these two collection is the database table is not a constant table collection. It will be keep on changing. It will be keep on changing dynamically. Dynamically means so two users are there, user 1 and user 2. Now this user 1 is watching these records. For that, to display him the records, we use a loop. By using loop, we display the records. While he is watching the records, somebody added a record. Somebody removed a record. While he is watching, somebody else is watching, somebody is adding. That means dynamically here, initially this user have 5 records. He is watching 5 records. And suddenly one new one came, just like your Gmail. You are watching your inbox. And there are 10 mails. And you are watching the list of 10 mails. Suddenly somebody sent a mail. Then that means that new mail will be added to the list dynamically. That means the list is not constant, it is changing. In that case, this for is not good. Technically, for loop, once you start reading, it cannot change the counter. That means before starts reading, it will fix the counter. That means you say 1 to 10, then it will stop at 10. That means you say 1 to 5, then it will stop at 5. That means now what happens is those 5 it is showing to user, and somebody added one more 6th one, it's not updated. That means for loop is good for reading from a collection which is not changed dynamically. But in JavaScript doesn't matter, because already we learned in JavaScript that array size can change dynamically. In other technologies, I told you that array size cannot be changed dynamically. JavaScript is not like other technologies. That's the reason here anything doesn't matter. For loop can change dynamically, but actually for loop cannot change dynamically. So that is the reason for JavaScript people, any looping statement is same. And that is the reason for modern JavaScript people, looping statements are not required at all. We don't use it. So we prefer iterators instead of using looping statements. So in early programming, people have to depend on these for loops and others. But now we don't do that. We use all iterations only. So I will show you difference. What is advantage of iterators over conditions, loops. Here the purpose of for. in general in computer programming, when a developer uses for, when a developer decides that okay, now I have to use for loop, when iteration or when iteration counter will not change dynamically. If you are sure that it is a standard list and it will not change dynamically, then better use for. If it is changing dynamically for such loops, that means for static drop down, for is good. If it list is changing dynamically, then you better go with do, or you go with while. So do while or while, you can use them. So this is actual difference. Means if anybody asks what is difference between for, while and do while, first thing you should know the answer that for is used when we know the exact number of iterations and the iteration counter will not change dynamically. While and do while we use when we are not sure about iterations, we don't know how many are there, and iteration counter will change dynamically. That means once you started reading, in between it can change. So then we better go with while and do while. That is the difference. Again, the question is, what is difference between do and while? Those things we will see now one by one. First point, so for loop is used for this concept. So when we are sure about iterations and when we are sure that iteration counter will not change dynamically, then we use this for loop. And very important is you should know that initialization and initialization, condition, counter values are optional in for. So they are optional in for declaration. They are optional in for declaration. You can declare anywhere outside. So that means actually you can write like this. You can write for semicolon, semicolon. This is valid. That means you can write a for loop with like this. That means generally what people don't know and they do mistake, because in MNC level questions, MCQs they ask. So in those questions, MNC level company questions, they give syntax like this and they say that is it valid. So they give iterations, initialization, counter they will not give, and they will ask is it valid. People who don't know completely about for, they think that it is invalid. So you need all three, but not required. Not required. That means see here how we define. Suppose I am configuring for where initializer I equal to 1. That means starts with 1. I less than or equal to 10. I plus plus. And document dot write I plus br. So we are printing the value of I and presenting it, and it will print the value from 1 to 10. 1 to 10. I am not declaring the variable I here. So I am declaring here the variable. So where, so I is equal to 5. I am declaring here, that is valid. It's okay. It will work. But you need an initializer configuration here. That means you cannot simply ignore that. It is invalid, right? You need a configuration for this. So, but the configuration, it's not mandatory to be inside for. It can be outside also, depending on situation and requirements. Similarly, the condition also can be removed. Similarly, the counter also can be removed. It can have empty. Everything you can define inside. You can configure inside. So all the three are optional. All the three are optional. You can define in this way. Then where to mention them? Usually we have to write like this. That means I remove the condition. Then what to do? If I remove the condition, we have to write the condition. If I less than or equal to how much? 10. Then here we will define it. That means it will display like this. What about the counter now? I remove the counter here. I remove the counter here. Then I can define the counter I plus plus like this. So it's valid. It's no problem. Depending on situation, depending on requirement, but writing empty is not valid. You have to have a configuration for initializer. You have to have a configuration for condition and counter, but it's not mandatory to write them inside. You can configure them outside depending on situation and requirements. So if any time they give the syntax like this, don't think that it is invalid. It is valid, right? So if anyone is defined, that is also valid. That means, for example, so where I is equal to some 4 and the condition is not defined, counter is defined I plus plus, that's also valid. That's also valid, because condition you can write inside if condition defined inside. That means any 1, any 2, any 3, 0, anything is valid. Anything is valid. That's what generally people don't know. They think that they know for loops, they don't know how to write for and everything, but these kind of consequences they don't know. And that is the point you have to know, that you can configure the loops in this way. But what is the problem with this loop is lot of declarations, configurations are required. For example, see here, one more point. Already you know that. So you can have counter decrement or counter with step value more than 1. Anything you can do. So that means you can have a counter decrement, you can have step value more than 1. Anything you can configure. That means it's not necessary that I plus plus. You can have I is equal to I plus 2. Right? You can have counter at any level. 2 times steps, 3 times steps. You can define anything. And you can define the step value more than 1. You can have a decrement counter also, I minus minus like this. So that means you can have a decrement counter, you can have a counter incremented. You can have all this. For example, suppose if I have to write in this way, so here I am writing, so for where I is equal to 10, I less than or equal to 1, then I minus minus, then document dot write. So here I have to give I plus. That means you are initializing I. So, and here so many consequences will be there. That means here we need to print. Suppose I starting with 10, I until greater than, right? Greater than or equal to 1. So then it will decrement and display the values. It can decrement. So it can increment. So it can have more than 1 step value. It doesn't matter. That means I can be 2 and I less than or equal to 20. I is equal to I plus 2. You can have anything. That means it will initialize with 2 and it will print for every 2. The counters, everything can be defined. Everything can be configured. So it can have increment, it can have decrement, it can have step values depending on the situation. but this is little bit complicated in handling loops, and presenting the content is complex. That's the reason we don't prefer this much. For example, see, we don't use it in modern JavaScript. We don't use these for loops anymore. You will see, if still you see people writing for loop, that means you don't know advanced JavaScript. Simple that means you don't know modern programming, right? If he's still writing for loops and all. So we are writing here where, suppose data is an array. This array contains an object. So this object is having some name, category. Okay, category is some electronics, and in that we have products is again an array. So we have TV, and we have mobile, like this, and we have another category. So category, and that is footwear, and we have products here as Nike casuals, yeah, and we have like Lee boot something. Now I want to present this data, so I will keep in a head section, and I will write here the function. So body load, and here I will just define body. So on load, okay, body load. On body load, we want to present this in an unordered list or ordered list. So ordered list, okay. Now see what we have to do here. We learnt already iterations. I already showed you arrays, multiple levels, but with for loop, see, we have to write in this way. For, so where I is equal to, because it's array starts with 0. I less than data dot length. Data dot length means until the end of all elements in array. So, and I plus plus, okay. Now in this, we have to create a list item, document dot create element li. Okay, this OLLI, this is ordered list li. I given as OLLI, ordered list item, and in that ordered list item dot inner HTML, we will print here how to collect the array data of I dot category, like this. That means because data is an array, in the data array, what we have, index number I is 0. 0 category means first category will come. Now this should repeat for every category, and it should be added into the ordered list. So that means we have to collect document dot query selector. We have OL dot append child OLLI. So this is added into it. Now you can see here. So I will refresh this. Now it is added. We have electronics, footwear. Now in that there is another collection called products. That means now again in this, we have to write another for. This time j is equal to 0. I can't use I because already it is used in that scope. So j is equal to 0 and j less than, this is data of I dot products, that is the collection dot length, then j plus plus. Now here we have to create another list item and unordered list. That means where ul is equal to document dot create element ul unordered list. Okay. Then where ulli is equal to document create element list item. In this, we want to display every product that is present in the array. Then we have to write like this: ulli dot inner html is equal to what is the collection data of I, data of I. After that, so we have to access inside that we have a collection. What is it? Products of what? J. Products of J. We have to access the products of J, and the J contains every element individual. That means I means it is how much initially? 0. So J is how much? 0. 0 means this is the first one and this is the first one. J0 is the first one. Now here we need to add this unordered list into ul. ul dot append child ulli. Then we have to append this to the ordered list. That means document dot query selector ordered list ol dot append child. We have to append this ul unordered list. We need to append that. It will be like this. This looks complete nonsense. These days, this is complete nonsense. What you are doing this? Time waste. Right? I, J, K. That school days programming. Right? In school days, this is very great programming. And people write I, J, K, L, so many levels means he is genius. Now, if he writes, anybody write like this means we see like a fool. What you are doing? Why you are wasting time? Right? Why you need this at all? We don't need this. This completely baseless programming these days. Right? That means this is good. Your logical skills are great. We don't want to see your logical skills here. Right? Until or unless I want to test. Interviews will test this. That means in interviews, 100% they ask like, don't use iterators for loop, right? Because that's how they test your skill level, right? But in real world, don't use this at all, right? But you have to learn this. You have to learn this because this is where your logical skills will improve. That means you need to know. See, I know that in this class now, more than 90% people haven't understood this. I can give a guarantee. Am I right? Huh? Confused? Huh? Is it easy? Huh? Huh? Understood it? Huh? No? But you are rotating your heads. Yes, yes. But I know that it's very confusion. You can't understand this at first level. I know that this is confusion and you don't understand this. Right? At one attempt, you can't understand this clearly until or unless I draw a diagram and say here 1, here 0, here J, here K. You can't handle this type of things. So that means this is complex, but this is where your logical skills are improved. You have to learn this, right? But we don't use this anymore because you saw the easiest method previously. We done this previously with the help of for off iterator. We used iterator for that. So that means, see, the same thing we done with the iterator, that looks better, not so much complex in references like this, right? Already we done this in so many occasions, but the point here is we used iterators there. What is the advantage of iterator over the loops? Iterator doesn't require initializer. Iterator doesn't require condition. Iterator doesn't require now how to handle this. But this is now imagine with this type of logic, you have to create a table. If this type of logic, you have to create a table with complex data coming from an API, then it will take a lot of time. So here the concept is simple actually. The point is, see here the concept, the point here is, so the I value is how much? 0. The loop started with I value 0. And in the J value is also 0. That means now in this context, it is referring to I and J. That means this I value you defined, you see now, this I value 0 is referring to the first element. This is the first element, right? Category, that is the first element. And J is referring this first element. Referring the first element. The inner loop is performing iteration. The inner loop is performing iteration on these products. The outer one is performing iteration on this. Understood? Like this. That means outer for is for main array. Inner for is for products array. If that contains another array, another loop you have to define. And lot of references. Now see what does this means. That means what does this means? Data of I of dot products of J. What does that means now? It means that we know this. So what does it means? That means data of initially it is 0. After that products. So after that products of how much? 0. And very important is after this, what it will do is next time it will be data of 0 only, then it will get products of 1 because first inner loop will finish. After inner loop is finished, second, now data will become 1. After that, again products will become 0. Then data will become 1 and again products will become 1 like this. This is the second loop, outer loop continuing. This is how it iterates. So this is not required. These days we don't use such type of programming because even these days I told you we use more better concepts called maps you have learned in array, right? We use this map technique which is a self iterator, internal iterators there. So usually that is the problem with for loop. Example I will give you this. This is for loop. This is the for loop how you define. This just program example I am giving here. So what is the best option here? One more, this is what is the best iterator. Iterator I will tell you now, we will discuss. Initially, this is the problem and this is the logic how we handle by using a for loop. Okay. Next, there is another loop. What is another loop? The while loop. So the while loop. So what is the concept of while loop? The while loop is, it is used when iterations are unknown. It is used when iterations are unknown and iteration count may change dynamically. It is used when iterations are unknown and iteration count may change dynamically. Iteration counter may change dynamically. may change dynamically. Another point is it will start the loop only when condition is true. It will start the loop only when condition is true. That means if condition is false, it will never enter into that looping state. So syntactically, like this, we have while, condition, and here we define statements, then counter, then close, like this. That means we define in this way. Example nothing but, so where I is equal to 1, so while I less than or equal to 10, so document dot write I, and I plus plus, then close. That's how we do. This is the while loop. So while loop will not enter into the statements and executes until the condition is satisfied. The condition is satisfied. If condition is not satisfied, it will never enter into the loops. Okay. Now, here we will see just rough syntactically. HTML, yes. So now let's write a script here and a function and call the function here, and we are defining where I is equal to 1, while I less than or equal to 10, and document dot write print the value of I, and I plus plus. That's the increment we are defining. That means its intention is to print the value 1 to 10. Same. Now the point here is, if I is 11, it's never enters into the loop. Then at least we need an alternative. Means even the condition is not satisfied, we need to enter into the loop and verify whether there are items inside it to read or not. So that means even the condition not satisfied, we need to enter into the loop and check what statements it is having. That situation comes regularly. In that case, generally we can go with the do loop. So we can go with the do loop. What is the point about do loop is, so it is similar to while loop, but ensures that the statements are executed at least once, even when the condition is false. Even when the condition is false. So it is similar to while loop, but ensures that the statements are executed at least once, even when the condition is false. Even the condition false, it will execute the statements, so that we can send a confirmation saying that it is executed. Confirmation saying that it is executed. So how it is handled means how it is managed. So syntactically we write like this: do and statements and counter, and here we check the condition while condition. That's how we define. And generally when we ask what is difference between while and do while, people have an habit of telling this as difference, general difference. That's not good. If you ask what is difference between while and do while, people who learned C, C++, Java, .NET, they will say, sir, while condition first checks, do last checks. That is the answer they will give. That means they are concerned about where it is checking condition, above or below. What if it is above or below? It is checking condition above, it is checking condition below. Some more intelligent people say that, so after checking condition it will execute. Here it executes, then check condition. Same. That is not the difference. That is not the difference. Where it checks condition, we don't care. The point here is when you write an iterator, at least once we need to touch the statement so that we can confirm that there are no items to read. Because without entering, because sometimes we have temporary data. So this type of situation will come in future. That means when you are having some collection, it may look empty, but there is some data inside it. It may look empty, but there is some data which can be hidden data, which can be temporary data. That's the reason it's important to enter into it and verify. So for example, you see, suppose you purchased a pen drive, so flash drive, so they say that it is 16 GB. Can you use all the 16 GB? You can't. Why? What about rest? That means there is a file allocation table, fat table we call it as. That if that table is not present inside any disk, CD, floppy, hard disk, you can't store data. Means what you don't know is that a fat allocation table must be there to store data. If that fat allocation table is not available, then it cannot store the data. So, and that table gets the indexes. The table contain index, means where which information is present. Everything is present in a fat table. And that is not visible to anybody. You can't see that. So until or unless you run some hardware commands for handling the fat allocation tables. So technically, the point is lot of data contains temporary hidden data. So that's the reason until you enter into it, you don't know it. So that means initially it may look empty, but it is not really empty. It's like pseudo. So that means, see, point here is, if I write like this now, so I is equal to 1. This time I am writing like this: do and the statement document dot write. So I and br. After that increment I plus plus. And after that here I write while I less than or equal to 10. I just defined like this: I less than 10 is enough, like this. Now here you see, when I run this, it is printing 1. So here the condition is I is 1. So I less than or equal to 10. That means even here you define it is 1. Why? Because what it is doing in this state. So it is do, which statement it is executing, this, after that this, and the condition is while I less than or equal to 10, right? So here the problem in this, what you observed, what is the issue in this condition? What is the problem in this condition? Let's see, these people can answer. What is it? Examine the statements here. So the condition is okay, good. Suppose if I make this as 11, okay. Make this 11 means is condition satisfying? Condition is not satisfying. Condition is not satisfying. It will print 11. Condition is not satisfying. It will print 11. If condition is satisfying, it will enter into the loop and it will execute the loop until the condition is satisfied. Even condition is not satisfying, it will enter into the loop, but it will stop there. That means it enters into the loop, it will execute the statement. It will execute the statement. Even the condition is not satisfying, it will enter into the loop and it will execute the statement. It will execute the statement. That means we want the statement to execute once at least, so that we can show what is inside it. We can define what is inside it. We can configure what is inside it. These kind of situations we will see in later stages, but we don't use this also anymore. Whiles, do while statements are not much preferred until or unless certain operations are required. Remember, these we don't use for reading data from collection. For example, I will copy this here. So that means here a simple note is don't use loops for reading data from collection. Don't use loops for reading data from collection. Means it's not recommended. Don't use loops for reading data from collection. Always use them for a counter to execute. Always use them for a counter to execute. Counter means increment or decrement. If you want a counter to execute with increment and decrement, then use it. Don't use for collections. Where we need counters, I will tell you, means where you need the counter. For example, I will give you a simple task try. So the task is nothing but, means by using this loop, because I said counter, you try that. What is the task is, suppose here, I will create a simple doc type HTML head title is loop. Okay. And in the body section, I said a field set and legend. So here your OTP something. And here we will put input type is equal to text and size is equal to some 4 or 5. And here we have a button. So say submit, fine. Now what should happen is in this design, your OTP and submit. OTP or say you say pin and submit. You enter your pin and submit. And here I will give a warning to them like max 3 attempts. if they try more than 3 times wrong OTP, it should block. That means it should say that your card is blocked, or it should completely disable everything, buttons and everything, and say that try or contact these people. Try after 1 day, 2 days, or contact this. Now, here we are not dealing with any collection. There is nothing like collection. We need a counter. Counter means I have to check 3 times, I have to check 4 times, I have to check 10 times for this loop. For this, iterators are not good. Iterators are used for collections. For this, we have to use loops. That means, so we need loops, but don't use loops for reading data from a collection. Use loops only for counters. These are the counters. That means, for example, suppose we have a script, we have some user detail. So in the user details, it's an object. It contains a pin. So pin is having some 67042 like this. Now what should happen is they have to verify this. Verify this on button click. That means we write a function submit click. Submit click. And here we have to collect the value from the text box id as txt pin. So where pin is equal to document get element by id txt pin dot value. Now I have to verify this 5 times or 3 times. And if it is more than 3 times wrong pin entered, then it should say blocked. So first I need to verify this and I need to check this. For example, now in general means this is your task. I will not show, right? Because I already asked you to try some examples. Now some people are asking, sir, it is very difficult to show in class. If I show in class, then it is not task, right? So try all the ways. You have Google now, right? World's powerful search engine. You Google, you search for this, you will find so many examples, but you will not find the exact one. That means you have to put the knowledge of all the research you have done from various websites and put in this example. Now, at least now, tell me, how do we check 3 times or 4 times? Tell me here live, we will see. First, I have to check the pin if, what is the condition? If pin is matching, right? If pin is matching with user details dot pin, then it's okay. If pin is matching, document dot write, I will say that so verified successfully. Verified successfully. This message should come. Else what should happen? Else what should happen? Here 3 times only I should allow to come into this. So 3 times only I have to allow to come into this. Then what you do? So shall we write a for loop here? For what is the counter? So where I is equal to 0, I less than or equal to how many? 3 times, then I plus plus. I am writing like this. But very important is here, this I0 value, na? We have to keep it count how many times. Is it 1 time or 2 times or 3 times? They attempted. So that means once they come into this else loop, else block, so I have to check that 3 times. That means it should start with 0. So it should not start with 0. It should start with how much? 1. Because 0 means it becomes 4 times now, right? So 1, 2, 3 equal to, because we are using equal to, otherwise less than 3. So now 3 times it will run. But very important here, some more conditions are there. Here just I am giving a glance of some clue I am giving you. Now what should happen here? We should display 3 times message should display. That means it should allow maximum 3 times. Then what is the loop we have to define here? Condition message, any message we will display. Any message we will display here. 3 times it will come into this loop, right? So that means else here, shall we write a message? Document dot write. What is it? Invalid pin. It's not right. It's wrong. So why? Because 3 times it will run this. That's it. It will run 3 times. But we have to verify 3 times. Verify 3 times. The logic, everything will be around this else clause only. Around this else clause, how you define. So you have to try that logic, right? You have to understand and try this logic. Based on this only, another concept is asked regular. This is very regular in MNC interviews. Almost in Wipro, Infosys, TCS, these like JavaScript interviews for freshers. Anywhere you will see at least once this type of, this is asked. This is asked. That means how you can verify for 3 times the wrong value entered or 4 times the wrong value entered and display that, right? So this is wrong. That means this is not right because this is printing 3 times. It is printing 3 times, right? Now, my point is they have to come into this else 3 times. They have to come into that else 3 times. That means if pin is not matching, then it should verify 3 times. That means, remember, this I can write without else. Can I write like this? If pin is not equal to user details, am I right? Is not equal to user details dot pin. If it is not equal to user details dot pin, then what should happen? That means if it is not equal to user details dot pin, that means how the counter we need to understand here. That means then what we do is actually we will put a count value, no? Counter value. Counter value. If not equal to pin, then we will put counter value is initially 0. Then we will increment counter plus plus. That means 1 time. We will increment counter 1 time. If after incrementing counter 1 time, that means this is, you can say 1 attempt, na? You can say 1 attempt, and here you can display the message. What is the message? Invalid pin. That means document dot write. So it is invalid pin. Invalid pin. And very important is this must be in the button. So this must be inside a loop now. Understood? Inside a loop. Inside a loop it should be there. That loop will verify how many times? 3 times. And once it 3 times finished, you have to disable the text box and the button. Disable the text box and button. Try. Right? You try to achieve this. Already our other batch people have done this. Right? So they have done that. I given already one task to you. So this is another task. Yesterday's task, anybody done? Right? Total, calculating total quantity. Anybody tried? No. EMI calculator finished. I asked you to try. Right? So I will upload these examples also. But first I will wait until anybody able to do it or not. Right? So I will upload these examples also. But I will wait until others to try. So then I will upload example. You can try that. Right? So the logic will be around this concept. Around this concept, try. Think the logic and implement. One more task I will give you based on loops only. Loops and conditions. Based on loops and conditions, which is frequently asked. That means these two are the tasks for you. This is task 1. So validate pin for 3 attempts and block if all 3 went wrong, right? Validate print up to 3 attempts and block if all 3 went wrong. If any one is correct, it will automatically say success. 3 times wrong details they entered means it should block. I will just give you this concept, means I will remove this at all. Just design I will give you. And this is the design. So this is your task, right? Another task which is frequently asked in MNC level interviews. Another task is, this is also very regularly asked in MNC level, and it requires knowledge of arrays, loops, and conditions, if conditions. Array, loop, and if conditions. And the task is, the frequently asked is here. I will give you this here. This is also very regular actually. So the regular is nothing but, so here in the field set, I will say that, so enter amount. And here we have some size, some 6. And here in the next paragraph, so inwards. So this is another. That means enter amount. I entered 456. It should show in words 456. You try up to 100 only. Don't go to 1000. If you go to 1000, it will be more than 50 lines program. 100 enough. And this is 100 to 100%. Almost in every MNC interview, you can expect this question. Means this task. Majorities everywhere. Because this is a very common thing in bank application, finance applications. In bank, finance, you see in your Paytm and everywhere. Right? You enter the number, it will show the words, in words it will display. It's very common these days. Anywhere you enter the word, it will show in words, character number. This is very popular program to ask in interviews to test 3 things: conditions, loops, and one more is switch. Switch use or not, you decide. Arrays and condition. Array means you know here. Suppose I am typing how to get one character. Just clue I will give you here. Suppose I say on key up. On key up means when you are typing every character, I will say txt amount. Here I am defining an option. So where, so amount is equal to So document dot get element by id, I will write this in a on key up, so convert. Okay, here I will write the function convert, and here I need to define this in a simple, yeah, amount get element by id txt amount dot value, and here I am having, so the value, that means where we will have, so hundreds is the hundreds is the array. Here we are writing suppose 1 and we are writing 2, so we are writing 3, so until 9 you write 3, like we write 4, like this. Now what should happen is we have to verify the character, the amount entered. Amount contains the character, first one, that value is among these or not. So that means if I write like this, if by using iteration for, we have to read everyone. What is it? For where I is equal to how much? 0, I less than hundreds dot what? Length, then I plus increment the value of I, and what is it? We need to check the condition. If hundreds, right? Hundreds of what is that? Hundreds of I is equal to your amount, right? If it is equal to amount, that means you entered one and it is matching that. If it is matching that, then what we have to display? We have to display that message. That means suppose I will put a span here, span id as msg. So here I will put here document dot get element by id, I will put msg dot inner html is equal to, so hundreds of I plus I will put, so 100. So I am writing like this, I am just writing like this. So I put here, suppose after printing that I just put a break. In an iterator we are writing that and we are defining the break. Now here the point is, when I say 1, so that means it has to get that 100 and display. If I say 2, then it should get the 200 and display. 200 and display. That's the logic you have to handle. That is one character only I given, just logic I given. You need to print that. Inside it you need to print. That means this break you should use later. That means you write 1, right? And you should put here some other iterations. What are those? Second character, third character. You have to do that. This is the logic you have to implement. We need for loops, and we need conditions, and we need array combination. Thousands means it becomes very lengthy. So try up to hundreds. If you can try up to hundreds, thousands also you can add one level extra you have to add, right? But up to 100 try. This itself becomes very lengthy concept. Lengthy program, it becomes a lengthy program, right? You try this also. Means I just given the logic how it will handle, because we need to get the index numbers and handle them, right? And we have to compare with the arrays. This is just logic. So you try this second task. That means, so write a program to convert number to words. number two words. This is the task. Actually, you will get lot of widgets. Generally, you will get lot of widgets. That means, so number two words, number two word converter. You see number two word converter. So this is number two word converter. Some number two word converter. Some widgets are present here. These are widgets. Number two word. Enter a number. Suppose I said so 450. Then calculate. So it should get that 450. It should display. This is JavaScript people's work. This is JavaScript people's work. That means you have to do this, and in every banking application you will find this. Every banking application mandatory it is, right? So this is general thing. I haven't given a concept that nobody knows about this. This is very regular concept, and it's simple also. It's simple also, nothing complicated. I am saying complex because you have to write a lot. That means you have to write 30-40 lines code, then you will achieve it. But it's not complicated logic. It's a simple condition and loop. So these two programs very, very important for getting out of MNC level interviews. So that means at least in 3 out of 3, 2 interviews will ask this question. They give this task. For freshers, for fresher. Experienced people, such questions will never be asked. All experienced people, architecture based questions are asked based on what projects they kept. So based on where they worked on domains, based on that experience questions will be there. But for freshers means all such logical tasks are given. These two tasks you try. If you are unable to do, I will explain in class. But you have to try by yourself. Just work hard little bit, you can try, you can do it, right? Because so much help is there online. Just see, don't try to implement their logic. You try to implement the concept, so with what you learned up to now. Because online, when you go to examples, they may be using lot of other things, functions and all, mathematical operations and all. So that means use your knowledge in implementing that logic. That's it. Don't try to implement their logic, right? Understand the concept behind it, then try. You see here, suppose in this number two word calculator, number two word converter. Okay. In this number two word converter, this is the converter software. Number two word, I think this is something else. Another is that number two word. You see, this is a very lengthy one. It's a very lengthy one. And you see the source here, inspect. And the program for this, I hope majority these people have given a separate script file. Separate script file. Yeah, converted, you see. This is for capitalization. Yeah, you will see this. This is for converting the characters, actually. Means uppercase, lowercase. The based on key code, character code. You see, this is the concept. That's what I just showed you, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lot of arrays are required. Lot of arrays are required. You have to use the arrays. One for hundreds place, another for tens place, right? Another for thousands place. If you go thousands, it will be very complicated. Then you have to write this. So the conditions, you have to depend on these conditions. We have to use the array and the condition. the if conditions. You see the for is being used now. Inside the for, switch is being used now. And don't try to write directly this logic. You can't handle. You put this with your knowledge. First, try to understand what they are doing here and try to put with your knowledge. You can do it in a simple way, right? You don't need to do this much complex actually, right? But here, why I showed you this program, because it is completely about three things: arrays, conditions, switch statement, and iterations, right? So these are loops. You can use this. This is the task that you have to try, and this is all about loops. Now, what is the problem with loops? I told you they are not good for reading from collection. So better to use what? Iterators. No need to explain. Already we learned iterators now. So iterator is nothing but iterator. Iterator is a software design pattern used to read elements from a collection in a sequential order. It doesn't require initialization, condition, and counter. So syntactical iterators can be defined with for and for off. What is difference? You know. What is difference between these two? For in, to read all properties from collection, right? And for off, to read all values from collection. Already I showed you examples on that in arrays. No need of another example. Syntactically like this. So for where property in collection or object, it will read every property. For where value of collection, of is not used for object, it is used only for collection. But in is used for collection as well as object. To read all properties of an object, you can use in. All properties of a collection also you can use in. Of is used for only values. So it is only for collection, not for object. And you already have examples. Almost in all examples we used them. In arrays also I given you. In array, in object, examples we already tried. In future also we will use so many, right? This is the iterators now. These are the options. Next important, now you have in the statements, two types of statements you learned: selection statements and looping or iteration statements. Next we have jump statements. Jump statements already we know. So one extra we have to learn. Jump statements, we have three jump statements. We have continue, we have break, and we have return. Already return and break difference you know. Previously we discussed about that. So what is continue? Actually continue is nothing but it skips the current counter and continues to next counter. It skips the current counter and continues to the next counter. Continues to the next counter. That means simply suppose in various other examples also we will see them here. Continue is one option, script. So here we have, and here we are writing. So for where I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to 20, I plus plus. Now what should happen is, so we are writing if I is equal to 5, then I defined here continue. And we are printing document dot write value of I. So suppose I defined up to 10. Okay. Now you see here, what is the point about this is, when it comes to 5, it will skip it. That means now the fifth counter skipped. It will go to the next 6, 7, 8, 9. That means suppose you are reading 100 products. In that, I want to skip all the products whose category is electronics. Others I want to read. Only electronics skip. Then you can use this continue. Right, use this continue. So for example, you can add multiple also. That means you can say or. You can say or I is equal to 8. That means it will skip 5 and 8. It will skip 5 and 8. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. This is good for handling the scenarios like this. For example, where some products is equal to array, here name is TV. So category is equal to electronics. So we have some name as some Nike. Category is footwear. And we have name as mobile. And the category is electronics. Now I have some name as some shirt. Category as fashion. That means I want to skip electronics. Wherever electronics comes, I want to ignore. Then what I can do is I can write like for. So where I is equal to 0, then I less than, what is it? Products dot length I plus plus. Here we have to write a condition. If products of I dot category, if category is equal to what? Electronics. If category is equal to electronics, continue, means skip them. And print other details. Document dot write. So products of I dot name. So print other details with a line break. I am defining like this. That means wherever categories are there, so it will skip the electronics. And it will print only other products. That means electronics are skipped. So we are using this continue. You can add multiple, or you can say products of I dot category is equal to footwear. So that means it will ignore that footwear also, shirt will come. We can add multiple options also there. This is very important for handling these kind of scenarios. That is, skips the counter. Example is this. Means how it skips the counter. Break and return already we learned in various examples, and we saw the clear difference also between those two. Right? These are What kind of statements jump? Next, very important, now we have exception handling. Exception handling statements that we will see in the next session. What is exception handling and how to handle exceptions in JavaScript, we will see that. That we'll see in next session. Tomorrow we will do that, right? So tomorrow we have session, and in tomorrow's session we will discuss exception handling, how it works in JavaScript. Then we have to go into more complex. Means now we will go into OOP concept, functions, OOPs, object-oriented programming in JavaScript. This is very important for future advanced technologies. Means up to now, language is important. From hereafter, advanced concepts are important. This is language basic. From hereafter, some new advanced concepts also will come. So which are good for technologies like Angular, React, Vue. If you have to learn, you need to be perfect in these topics which we are learning from hereafter, right? Tomorrow we will see, right? Try those 3 examples, tasks given to you, right? So otherwise in the class, I will give some hints, clues, and I will post examples. You can try them, see, okay?